In this video, I am going to talk to you about 25 ways the Gen 4 Levo changed from the Gen 3. We'll call them improvements, but you be the judge if they're better or not. But I guarantee you're going to learn something today about the Gen 4 Levo. This is a bit of a long piece, but if you are thinking about the Gen 4 Levo, I guarantee you there will be some nuggets of information in here. And if you hang up to the end, number 25 is a doozy worth listening to. All right, fascinating release. I have a 20-minute video right here, and people love it. I was very honest about the strengths and weaknesses of this fascinating kind of new bike, where I think a lot of the other bikes will be measured against. So the first change is the motor changed. It's now called the 3.1 motor, and it is now more powerful. It has 111 Newton meters for the S-Works and 101 Newton meters for the rest of the Levos. There is no more belt, the bane of our existence. The belt derails or breaks. So it's all metal gears now, a lot more testing, a lot more reliability, and it's designed to be quiet, you know, even after 2 hours of climbing or 2 years of use. They made it more sensitive too, more easy to control. You can climb out of saddle. It's more responsive, but it doesn't push you over the edge and lose traction. The next change, may be more important to some of you folks concerned about range anxiety, is they worked on a swappable battery. So this door is very easy to access, and when you take out the door, the battery is free. You just pull it out. It takes about 10 seconds. We have an 840 watt hour in there, default on all Levos, and they're gonna have an option for a 600 watt hour battery, so it's about 2.3 pounds lighter. The old battery, by the way, was a 700 and it was very long. You tried to carry this on your back, it was trouble. You were better off, and there was no extender. You were better off just leaving this in the car or throwing this behind a tree or something and coming back for it. The third change is now there is a battery extender. So the extender is cool because it can be used in tandem with the internal battery. You could go without it or you can go with it. It works, and it's very sophisticated. I think they dialed it in. It's better than any extender ever made, in my opinion. These plugs have a button to release them. The length is just right, and this doesn't get in the way of the cranks. So really cool system, 280 watt hour. So it's sufficient. It's sufficient to kind of offset the weight of the case, the battery controller, and all this wire and cage. And it's cool, it doesn't need a special cage, so no extra weight there. And the way it's kept in place is fascinating. There's a Garmin style mount in the bottom where you lock it in. And as you're locking it in, it locks in to a keyed system too on the frame right here. So it's contained in two places. It's not gonna rattle, it's not gonna damage your frame or anything like that. Very sophisticated system. Number 4 is in the frame is a lot better looking because the motor is no longer tilted. The tilt bothered me from day one. 3 years later, I have two Gen 3 Levos. 3 years later, it still bothered me. So that motor was tilted like this. So it interfered with your bottle cage situation, or if you did have an extender. And the reason was this battery was so long, was the only way it was gonna get out of the bike was by sliding out. And they had to tilt the motor, get it out of the way. The other change on the frame was the old one had a sidearm for years, 5-6 years, and it bothered me because I never felt it did anything, and it just was hard on my eyes. You know, it was kind of like a lefty situation fork, lefty frame. All right, the fifth change is subtle, but to me it's very important. When you charge the Gen 4 Levo, you no longer have to disconnect the main power line. The main power line is what connects the battery to the motor. And on this situation, every time you charged it, you had to disconnect that wire. That wire is your main power line. And that's because of their removable system. And it was a huge compromise, in my opinion, because every time you take it out, you weaken that connection. And that connection is a very high current connection. Any kind of water, dirt gets in there, or if it's not pressed, you know, to the max, it will cause instability in just turning on your motor. What's happening here is this is the charge port, and the charge port, every time you charge it, you are not touching the connection between the main battery and the motor. You know, it's all there set in stone. The number 6 change is for battery removal. It's a lot faster now and a lot more convenient. Instead of sliding out from underneath where you really had to put the bike upside down or put it on a stand, it just click, click, easy. 10-second out. And you don't even have to unplug the main power line. The wires were connected securely with the mounting system, and it's just fascinating how they pulled off this side door mount that they have. All right, the number 7 change, I would say they were all improvements, but this is probably not one of them, is it gained weight and it got fatter. So it gained weight, it used to be 48.6 pounds. Now it's 51.7 pounds. So it gained about 3 pounds because of the battery, because of the tires, and they just made it beefier. They made it, they optimized for ride quality instead of weight. At that note, it also gained in girth right here. This is about almost 13 inches, 12 3/4 inches. The size of this tube used to be a little more svelte. Number 8 is about the seat post. They have a deeper post insertion length. It now goes a little deeper, so maybe you can add 10-20 mils on your dropper length and still be able to pedal depending on the brand of your dropper, but you do have an option now. And the other thing is they went away from RockShox. The RockShox reverb was just annoyed me to death because it would sink, over every few months. It would sink a millimeter or two until it would sink about 10 mil. The other thing is you could not lift it from the saddle because you would introduce air. It would go up and introduce air into the system. So just not my favorite. Number 9 change is the Mastermind TCU. Looks like it's designed in now. Before it looked like an afterthought where they took advantage of the little hole and put a display there. It's now much bigger. It's almost double the size. And it can be controlled by this new button that they have. This new trigger has 5 buttons. So you don't even need your phone to change all the settings in your mission control, or on your motor system. It can all be controlled by your little screen here. So pretty cool system. Still wired. And another big difference is now it's available on all their bikes. Not just the experts or the S-Works, but I think it's going to go down to all the comp models. So the number 10 change, at least on the S-Works, and I think the other ones with electronic access transmission, is they are now powered by the main battery. So instead of you having that little battery on the axis that always runs out, it's now powered by the whole system. And let me tell you, it is a whole lot better. Never have to worry about that thing dying again. So one thing to note though is if you want to change gears, the system has to be on. Just turn it on and then it feeds the right amount of voltage, because you do need a converter from this 50-volt system into the 7-volt system. And so you just need to turn it on and you're good. When you run out of power, when you drain your battery and the motor stops working, the good news that the derailleur is still going to keep working for a few hundred shifts. All right, the number 11 change is we have a new switch, a new trigger right here, and it has 5 button actuations. So very slick indeed, but it's not as easy to comprehend or understand because it's different from every other e-bike. So those 5 buttons, you're going to have to practice a little bit because they control the menu options as well. But it's nice and tidy. It'd be nice to have 2 sides to it and wireless, but they do have a pretty advanced system with that 1 button right there. All right, the number 12 change is we have something cool on the running modes. We now have an auto mode. Remember, we always have Eco Trail Boost. Now there's auto, and I think it comes before Eco Trail Boost. So it's the one that they want you to use. Auto means it can go from 0 to hero depending on how hard you work. That means you don't never have to change your setting again. You're not, mode hunting, so to speak. And it's very handy if you don't know what's coming up. It just surprises you. Boom, boom. And sometimes the auto mode is boosting too much or it's not boosting enough. So there's 3 auto mode levels that you can choose from. The other thing they have is a dynamic microtune. Microtune was some kind of quirky thing they have where you could go in special mode and go on 10% increments. 10, 20, 20, 30, 30, 40, 40 is a support level. It was pretty cool, But at the lower levels, that denominator, which is the how much of the power you're allowed to use, 10 assists to 10% of the power is not really handy. So now what they have is the denominator is 100. So you can use 100% of the power. It just, you have to work a lot harder. So 10 100, 20 100, 30 100, and so on. That's all available now on the new system. Next change is we have a new charger for the S-Works. I've heard it's $499 for this guy, and this thing is cool. I've never seen a charger that's this nice, and I've seen a lot of chargers in my lifetime. It's all metal, and it has a bunch of modes. Comes with the S-Works, and what we have is a standard charge, a fast charge, where it charges in 2 hours, but it charges to 80% in 1 hour, so really cool. It has an eco charge where it just meters it slowly. So maybe you have you're not in a hurry, you want to be easy on the battery, or you're charging it from your car inverter, and it's not very high wattage. And this one on eco mode, it will not pop your fuse, so to speak. And then we have an 80% charge, very handy, because if you never use your 840, why don't you just 80% charge it, because the battery is gonna last a heck of a lot longer. Number 14 change is we now have SWAT storage in all the Levos, and we have from S1 to S3 is this small, and then for the bigger sizes you have a longer one. So pretty cool storage. We have a tube here and a compressor pump, very handy. So pretty darn cool addition, the first I've seen in an e-bike. Number 15 change is we now have a Fox Float X Genie shock, a very sophisticated shock with 2 chambers, so it gives you suppleness in the mid-stroke, and then it has bottom-out resistance at the end by closing out one of the chambers. A really cool shock, and you will feel the difference. In addition to that, they changed the suspension kinematics as well to be a little more flat, so you just get that pillowy feel right in the middle. Number 16 changes, we now have smaller tires. Remember when the Gen 3 came out, they all had 2.6 tires. Gen 1 had 3.0 tires. So 2.6, they were decreasing. Now they're at 2.3 tires. So reducing in size. I think they're learning that they're just mountain bikes, and they do need to get the grip. For most situations, they do need to just get the grip, dig into the dirt, and get that traction. Still on the subject of tires, they changed from Eliminator rear and Butcher front to Butcher. So I think that's a good change. That was really weak of them to put an Eliminator on the rear, because it's an e-bike and it just sees gnarly stuff. Good rolling resistance, but when you go downhill braking into the steeps, it was not good. So Butcher is now good, and they even improved the Butcher on the second wave of Gen 4 Levos coming out. They're going to have a new Butcher with better side knobs and more siping on this thing. The number 17 change is the wheels are stronger. So when you see the wheels, you're like, oh, what's going on? The lip is thicker, much thicker, because the E-MTB just goes through so much of the rocks and the hard impacts. So aside from them using this grid gravity, some downhill casing, they have a rim that's kind of double walled, and you can see it externally butted. Number 18, we're going down to the wire here. This is a good one. You're not going to find this anywhere else. They've changed from a 36-volt system to a 50-volt system. So the batteries are now delivering 50 volts. And why is that important to you? It's important because now to get the same amount of watts, they can use less current. Less current, it's not as demanding on the wiring and shutdowns, and it's going to be a little more reliable a connection. And even more important, the higher voltage has allowed them to have better visibility into what the battery is doing. So you know how in the old Levo, when you have like 10% left or 5% left, it goes to almost zero. And you're like, no good. And that's because they didn't have enough information on resolution on the battery, and they didn't want to ruin it. So they would just err on the side of caution and just give you almost no power. This thing will give you good power all the way to 1%. And I've tested it already. Number 19 change is all the sizes can now hold the big battery, because it's not as long as that guy. So S1 to S6 will all be shipped with the 840 watt-hour battery. Now, whether those really short and light people need the 840, remains to be seen. Still very expensive, but especially on the top end. But consider where they came from. They used to be 15K, and I think they had a special 17K edition. The 15K is now 13.5 thousand for the S-Works. So, and I'm seeing some reduction all along the line. So a little more price friendly than the old Gen 3 for a much better bike. And I think, you know, when we get to the comps and carbon comps and the alloy models, it's going to be pretty attractive. Changes, we can now change the length of the chainstay right here. So it comes defaulted in the short mode. You can make it long. And why do you want to do that? You want to do that to kind of slow it down, make it climb the super steeps a little bit better. If you have a big size, you want to be a little more balanced, you know, with your long reach, make your chainstay a little longer. So pretty cool. Unfortunately, you can't do 29er because there's a yoke here that's kind of in the way. But adjustable chainstay to go with adjustable height, BB height, and adjustable headset. Pretty cool. Number 22 is on the performance test, the E-MTB climbing test. It used to climb in 4 minutes and 48 seconds, and it was beat by the Bosch CX4 race and CX5. Now it climbs in 4 minutes and 12 seconds, beating all those Bosch guys. The Ampflow, the DJI motor is in the 340, so it's not quite catching up to those guys, but that's pretty darn fast anyway. But this thing is a lot faster than before, and beyond that, it's more controllable as well. It's a more, you know, with great power comes responsibility. This thing is responsible. It'll allow you to kind of modulate that power when you need to. We now have Apple Find My, so really cool. You could track your bike for theft, and also for it's being transported, you could find it. It's all built in, it's in there. There's a chip there somewhere. You don't have to get that air tag anymore. 24 is in the Mission Control app or the Specialized app. You now have an option to start rides automatically. So you get close to your bike, you turn it on, you start riding. If you configure it, it's gonna start logging the ride right away. And then when you stop, it's gonna shut it down and upload it. Pretty cool, huh? You know, because if you're kind of a Strava guy or a tracking guy, you're like, and you miss a very good ride, you miss logging it, you're like pretty sad. So this thing, that feature can prevent it. What's up, guys? You made it to the end. And as I promised, this one is a big one. It's a doozy. And this is a US only difference. In the Gen 3 Levo, it is a Class 1 20 miles an hour only bike. In this new one, the Gen 4, it is a Class 1 20 miles an hour, but you could turn it with a sequence of buttons. You could turn it into a Class 3. Class 3 is 28 miles an hour. It also allows throttle, but this one has no throttle. So I'll show you the sequence of buttons that you press, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about it. Okay, to adjust the speed limit, you have to get to the system menu, and you do that by pressing the down button and the joystick up at the same time. And about 3 seconds, 2 seconds, and you see here we have the settings, and we have language. So we use the joystick down, pair sensors, motor tune, and then rider speed limit. Rider speed limit, you hit the joystick center button down to enter it. Speed limit is always 20 miles an hour. When you turn the bike on, you joystick down to get to 28, and then you hit the center joystick again. You get a warning, proceed at your own risk, always follow the applicable rules. And what you need to do to get past the screen is hit the down button, and then to get out of here, you hit the down button again. So there it is. So you have to stop, and you have to do it every single time that you want to go Class 3, because once you turn the bike off, it's going to return to its native mode, which is Class 1. So, you know, on the one hand, you know, some people love that they can go 28 miles an hour as they commute to the trailhead. You know, it's a lot easier to flow with traffic. You're able to use your bike, your motor. On the other hand, I think the main concern is trail access. Trail access is fundamentally based on Class 1, 20 miles an hour. Not the best, but it's what we got to get our bikes, our mountain bikes legalized. So, you know, it is going to be kind of a little bit of an issue until it sorts out. So I'm not gonna get too much into it because I'll make a separate video, maybe interview some people on this feature, whether they're for it or not. But there it is, 25 things that are different from the Gen 3 to this radical new Gen 4 Levo. Please tell me in the comments which ones resonate with you, which ones are deal breakers, which ones are gonna make you buy this bike, and which ones you think will shape the E-MTB industry. Thanks very much.